Very good evening, Vijetha.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Doing fine. How are you?
All well, all well. Thank you very much. Hi, Sandeep. Hi, Akhil. Hello, everyone. So, one more wonderful Saturday evening session awaits us. So, let me just give a quick contextual kickstart, Jagat, with your permission.
Always. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, good evening, everyone. This is Vijetha here from Thai Bangalore, and of course, with Jagat, the founder of Vidphone, this wonderful platform that we have. So it's about companies creating wonderful companies, business cultures, what's happening in ecosystem, and let's kickstart. Jagat, over to you.
All right. I mean, so it's been a wonderful week. I think a lot of events as well at TIE. So firstly, I want to just say amazing work again. Beautiful to attend all the sessions, and I think especially the sessions by Chinu. I think the topic you're covering is very interesting, which is the mental well-being, and very relevant in these times. So, just to put some context, welcome to all the viewers. Sandeep, nice to see you there. Hope you're doing well, my friend. All the others as well. Akhil also is there. So, all the other viewers on Facebook, YouTube. So, this is the Vidphone Show. Really, really happy to be talking about something very close to my heart, right? Today, we're talking about building creative companies. I think the era has come, and what I'll do is probably just dive straight into a little bit of a presentation so that we set some context. And then, Vijay also has some great updates. So I think we can take it from there. So just sharing my screen. Okay. Is my screen visible? Vijay, all good?
Yeah.
All right. And Sandeep as well, really nice. I think I had a good conversation with him. Also want to know from him how he's building, his own company creatively. I think it's Lapa Lap. I think is the kind of is the platform that he's doing. It's wonderful. So here is to build a creative company. Just checking again, Akhil or Vijeta. Just give me a heads up if I'm good,
Yeah.
or the
Just
audience.
sure. No, it's presenting. You just have to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
This one. Yeah,
no,
correct.
yeah. All right, thanks. So today's topic, right? So it's really about build a creative company, and really the idea here, and obviously, we have been working with a lot of businesses, a lot of brands over the past, quite a few years, um, and one of the topics that whether it is through Vidphone or through any other, initiative that we do, it's really about innovation. And we what we do is we power certain innovation, projects inside enterprises. We've done these for companies ranging from the largest safety science company in the world, the largest property management company in the world, the one of the largest business services groups in Britain. Uh, Also, various other companies like Danfoss for Denmark. So these are large enterprises in India as well. So we've done work with ZTV, a lot of other companies as well. So what we've always done in all of these projects is built a typically it's a web or a mobile application. Of course, that's our business. We're in the technology business. But more importantly, it's something that's never been done before. And that's the essence of creativity, right? Creativity, if you really get to the roots, it is about being authentic, being original, and doing things that has never been done before. And that is the big challenge today. So I think it's very important for us to have this session. Uh, and the idea really is to encourage innovation without inhibitions, right? The first thing that we talk about innovation or R&D is risk, right? Even for corporates and enterprises, we have worked with a lot of these large ones that we have spoken about, and obviously the as the bigger the company gets, the more they are in a protection mode, and that's completely understandable, right? They are obviously having their business model figured out, and they are looking at growth there, but they also understand the importance of innovation, and typically it's coming through innovation teams or R&D, or specific verticals as well. So the idea really is to limit the downside, right, on the innovation experiments, to find out scalable models and to take them, to a larger audience, right, once it's piloted. So this really is the framework around which we want to operate. Uh, So today's agenda, what are we talking about really? So very quickly, an introduction to the session. I think I want to set some kind of a context as to why we talk about creativity and why we think it's so important today in companies. We'll have a small check-in with the audience, people joining us, and a bit of an icebreaker as well. Then we'll get to the creative company, right? We'll talk about the elements that make, or some of the ingredients that come together to make a creative company. And in the end, obviously, the idea of this presentation, I may stop halfway, and then Vijetha may go, and then I may come back. But the idea really is to have something actionable that at the end of 1 hour, the viewers are able to do something and actually start building a creative company, right? So I don't want to just come give you some kind of a presentation with some big words. I really want to make this actionable so that at the end of 60 minutes, you believe that you can actually build a creative company. So Vijetha and I, we're the facilitators for this session. Vijetha, executive director from TAI, good friends, and really appreciate all his efforts. Uh, the goal of this session, really, as I said, is to build actionable points, and we're building this together. So I'll also discuss with Vijetha because he's also been part of open innovation. I think Vijetha at NASCOM as well, and even I think other groups. So, and of course now at TAI. So yeah, I think he has a very very interesting perspective, which I'll also talk about. So let's have a quick community check-in, right? So this is something that I think is important for us to do. Where how are you feeling, right? How are we feeling today? How was the week? It's obviously a Saturday evening, so for many companies. So I'm happy to kind of check. Maybe I can even get the people who are on Paramveer, Manik, Paramveer, Sandeep, Akhil, of course Vijetha. So just a quick, I want to if possible get some views very quickly before I get in. Paramveer, guys can feel free to raise hand. I've enabled the raise hand feature, so guys can feel free to come in and pop in, join in with our conversation. So Vijay, I just want to know from you. I mean, just how are you feeling? I mean, that's the whole thing. Being creative is a lot of state of mind, and at the end of this week, let's say you had obviously a weekly goals, weekly targets that you want to go after. So how has been your thoughts? How your week overall?
See, the week never stops, Jagat. It keeps continuing. So, because we are doing quite a lot of things. In fact, today, Jagat, we also had this Karnataka digital economy mission. So, we're trying to work with people beyond just the set usual story. We're trying to see what we can do with academia. You know that there's some wonderful folks that we have from the Sayadri College of Engineering in Bangalore. We also have a lot of what you call as the new age incubator networks, right? These are the people who are there in all the government colleges, Jagat. And this is something that I would like for example, startups like you all should look at some of these colleges, work with the interns over there, give them use cases, no? You give them proper real-time problems to solve for frugal money or whatever is up to you, because look, money is always a problem, but they're hungry to prove themselves, they're hungry to learn. So
I
this
think
is the one
absolutely.
thing that I want to very kind of specify. The second thing is that we all need to learn how to think and act global, Jagat, and I'll tell you why. I was on this India immersive program with startups from Singapore, and very smart people, okay, very very smart people. And sitting in Singapore, they do work with ASEAN, correct? They do with Malaysia, they will do with Hong Kong, they will do with Vietnam, they will do with wherever they do in Japan, right? They do a lot of business, and there's a lot of seriousness to build partnerships. I want to stress on that word, to build partnerships and collaborations. And obviously today it's Jagat, it's about remote, right? You can't really travel, so you have to figure out how to do it on video, you have to figure out how to do it on these kind of platforms, right? You have to sell, you have to bond, you have to network, you have to
Yeah,
create your company is there, but you have to create that trust and goodwill and rapport and relationship. So, and the determination is there. So I'm talking about very different things here, right? When I'm talking about a small towns, I'm talking about a larger companies who are trying to build ventures and everything. But the deal here is that you got to make business happen.
yeah,
Okay, whatever you do, you may say that I have a great culture, I have a great company, but you work on the way you have been working on your company. You're bringing the tools, you're bringing the resources, virtual engagement, the remote CEO concept, right? A CEO now has to sit where he's sitting, where he or she is sitting, and you have to deal with teams, you have to deal with customers, you have to deal with the policy, you have to deal with whatever, anything that you get, investors
yeah.
maybe.
Now
So
I'll
it's a
get
very
to that.
different world.
Very, very, very interesting point. So I'll get to that in the PPT as well. So wonderful. So Vijita has had like as I expected a highly global opinion. It
And
has
can I
global
also
view and also at the local level. So rural
Yes, yes,
India
yes.
and global. So
Global, yeah,
that's
and there's actually a confluence, Jagat. There is actually a confluence in how people are thinking, how they're working together. And if you're comfortable, I have two slides to show. That's it. That's it.
yeah,
Huh?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's about the ecosystem updates and news that we have. Jagat, you know it, but still.
No, I don't. I mean, there's a lot of news. There's always new things happening. So
Yeah, yeah, there's always new things happening. So two things that I want to kind of talk about, Jagat. One is about this. This is going to be a big one. Sorry, the EdTech with Byju's. Okay, so we're doing this on the 17th of July. That is precisely a week from now. And we also have one more person who's a serial entrepreneur, investor, that is Shrikant Iyer. Also remember that Byju's is also a angel investor. He and his other people and all, they've actually invested in a lot of companies. So it is not just about listening to how great Homelane is or what Byju's has done or what does the like we have Sunil who heads the education and space activities for Amazon Web Services and South Asia. So he's going to, and we have at Thai Jagat, we have an EdTech SIG, a special interest group. Okay, but why I'm requesting for founders and this entrepreneurs, everyone to come in, and even students to come in is, please understand from them because they will also be talking about the growth story of India and EdTech, right? And see, there's a lot of challenges, and there is a digital divide, Jagat, whether you like it or not. Okay, let's be
no, I
very
don't
very
like it.
right, but at the same time, no, there is a huge digital divide. But what
There
is
is.
being worked out by all these this the edtech sing and rural entrepreneurship, and is how can we look at smaller towns and how can we take these advantages of technology and devices and 5G, etc., etc. How can everyone in India benefit? So I would urge founders, entrepreneurs, students, everyone to come in on 17th. And then the second one that we'll be doing is again 24th, which is 2 weeks from now. So we are doing something we have this Jagat, this Thai young entrepreneurs. This is 13 to 17-year-olds. Okay. So they will be presenting, but I would like you to take a look at the four people who are going to be here. Of course, all of them are Thai Bangalore charter members. So we have Anjali, who's a partner with Waterbridge Ventures. Then we have Ragini, who's there with Caspian Impact, and she's again, they talk debt. Okay, so you have two people from the investment field. Then you have someone, Saswati. She's a really, really smart young lady and very, very good in marketing and growth hacks. And she has been a partner for us also. And we have been doing a lot of collaborative work together. If you remember, we had done something with Little Fuse and the IoT forum activities, etc., etc. So she's very much an integral part of it. And then we have Santosh, who's raised quite a bit of funding. And this is all vernacular, Jagat. So what he
Yeah,
has done,
Santosh is a good friend
sorry,
actually.
obviously, yeah, you know
Yeah,
Santosh, you know him, of course. Sorry, you do know him also, right?
he was sitting
So
right behind me at NASCOM.
at NASCOM, right?
Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. So see, he's also doing a lot of work on
yeah,
the rural areas with small towns and vernacular, etc. Right? So I just wanted to give these two examples on the ecosystem updates. Many more things. There's plenty of things happening, and all I say is that like Jagat and me are sharing this on Founders Feed. We are sharing it on our timelines, etc. But these are the two things. Just take a screenshot. Just pay attention to this. 17th we have around EdTech with Byju's, Shrikant Iyer, and the AWS team. And then the Thai, and it is all open, by the way. No money, nothing. You just come in, interact, network, learn from these people, and engage and exchange notes. Okay. So this is what I had, Jagat, for the first cut. I'm stop my screen share and back to our discussion. Thank you.
no, that was wonderful. I think both again really important topics, right? Education, tech, and we have the women entrepreneurship. So very interesting. So wonderful. I think the thing about Vijetha is that always there are so many things going on with Thai also. And I keep seeing the updates, and all of them have, I think, different context also. So I think it's good that we're covering a lot of different verticals, and
Yeah.
that's similar to the work that even at Vidphone we we don't look to serve only a single kind of category. I think the whole point of being online and SaaS and all of this is that you're able to serve a wide variety of customers.
Yeah.
Unlike traditional white label, go sit with a client and deploy it at their servers. I think and that democratization is really critical.
Absolutely.
So coming back to a bit of the context of the conversation today. And I think when you look at education, like you said, education and of course the women entrepreneurship, right? So coming to these 2 points, education, of course, is the fundamentals. I think once you have good education, you can also be creative in whatever field. And I don't mean English or going to school. A musician need not go to school per se, but the moment they know how to play music, they're highly creative. So, and women, of course, are the creative kind of side. Right? You always find that nurturing. So there is a lot of sync around. So when we see the overall community, what I'm talking about is now coming to the community side as well. Alexis and the whole Founders Feed community. Sandeep, of course, is with us. A lot of others will be joining on, watching on YouTube and LinkedIn, other things. Overall, I think there is a bit of the lockdown has come down, so people have got back to their work. So I think that's really good. So I think overall there's a sense of optimism, right? And the overall feeling is okay. Let's kind of move forward. Just a quick icebreaker. So today is, I believe, the birth anniversary of a person, Nikola Tesla. And I just wanted to take that moment. I just want to confirm this. Yes, 10th of July. That's right. Today we're on the 10th of July. And happy Tesla Day. I think one of the quotes by Tesla was where he talks about effectively video and voice chat. And back in 2016, I still had not experienced that kind of video chat. Right? We had Skype, we had Emo, and some of these tools, but nothing really as good as the video chat today we are building. I think with Vidphone also and the other big players as well. So uh, a very very happy Tesla Day. In my view, right, I just come to the answer: who is the most creative person ever? One of them would definitely be Nikola Tesla, in my view. Of course, I would say a lot of other people, but I think Tesla also, it's his anniversary, so his birth anniversary, so we give him the benefit of doubt of being the most creative person right now, walk the earth. Uh, Audience can, Vijetha, Akhil, or you can put it in the comments as well. Tell me who's your most creative person. In fact, I would, I don't mind stopping presenting because I want to make this, I want to know as well, right? So
So
Vijetha,
I think Jagat,
who's
you know what? Think about this, right? All the housewives and all these mothers in the past to keep creating a lot of food
recipe?
that is different. They think
Grandmother.
yeah, grandmothers. They recycle clothes. They
That's a
recycle,
wonderful one. Yeah,
reuse. Yeah. So I think they are also amazing people, right? They're not the unsung folks.
yeah.
They're also doing. They're
That's
doing
a
amazing things. Yeah, yeah. Think
really
about
good
that.
one. Really good one. Yep.
Yeah, and also, can I suggest one thing? There's this website and there's this forum rather called The Better India Jagat. So they talk a lot about all these kind of things. The better India, right? So that's something that I would also think. But otherwise, I mean, you just see the kind of work that say Elon Musk is doing, or all that is quite inspiring, right? I mean, I
Yes.
think it's some important for us to not about trying to follow them, but imbibe some of those thought processes that they have, because we need to apply that in our lives and in our careers and in our founding, whatever but startups or entrepreneur journey that is going on, Jagat. That's my
Absolutely.
thought process.
Absolutely. I completely agree. What about Akhil? I'd like to know, or Paramveer as well. Good to have you with us, Paramveer. Feel free to click on raise hand. We'd love to have you and share some notes. Uh, yeah, good to have you. So, Akhil as well. Feel free to tell me where is Akhil? Is he there with us? Akhil, if you want to raise hand, I'd like to take you in as well. You can click raise hand and tell us who's your most creative person. That's if you're in a reasonable position to take the call. There you are. So Akhil, yeah, I'm taking you live. Yep. So who is the most creative person in your view?
So if you don't go by the regular like Edison or etc., so I like this guy called Michael Reeves. He's on YouTube, so he builds like really creative bots, chaotic
Uh-huh.
bots and stuff like that. So I really and the ways in which he solves like engineering problems, like he does stuff just for the fun of it. So that's what really
You should
yeah.
drop that in the comments.
Okay.
Drop that person. I want to
Yeah.
check it out as well.
Yeah. Sure.
We hang out every day, and you've not told me this, so
Yeah.
I learned something today. Put that
Yeah.
thing so I get what's
Yeah.
nice, very interesting. Sandeep says Steve Jobs. I think I wouldn't disagree. Uh, Really, I do think that Steve Jobs, I would say, I wouldn't compare Steve Jobs and Nikola Tesla, but I think both of them have really moved the world forward, right? I think that's really amazing. And The crazy thing is that we're talking about Elon Musk, and now, of course, when we say Tesla, they've it almost rings more the car than Nikola Tesla, and that to me is a little sad. It's also a little bit like having this Indian group called Patanjali by Baba Ramdev. I'm a big fan, but I somehow am not a big fan of them naming it Patanjali because Patanjali is somebody else, and commercialism we can easily brand something, and it becomes it becomes history for the future generation. So that's a little scary. I still want Nikola Tesla to be remembered as Tesla. And the interesting thing is that if you go and read or you watch the video of Elon Musk, he actually prefers Edison to Tesla, who were arch rivals at their time. He actually says that Edison was better than Tesla, and it's surprising that he runs the company called Tesla. He's not his name anyway. So coming back to the conversation, I just want to keep this interactive, so a little bit of jumping in and out, because I've also been creative. A creative company. So we will now come to a creative company. As you know, Tesla could not have done what it did without the backing of people like Westinghouse and other corporate backers. Neither could people like Edison build out their high-level R&D, without having companies there. So companies play a very important role in large-scale innovation, and that's really the power of being, a creative company, right? I wouldn't call General Electric when it started, which was really the company that Edison probably started, and uh, Nikola Tesla with the Westinghouse company. These you would put $1 million and you cannot say whether you're going to get back 10 million or you're going to lose all your money. But there is a high possibility that you may make 100 million or probably more than that, right? That's really the essence of creativity. It's about being original. And I think companies today, especially when you look at the Indian context, we have a lot of respect for the execution focus with the Indian companies. But of course, a lot of Me Too models that everyone's aware of, which I think we should avoid. We should be authentic and original. And that's very, very important. Coming to Tesla and creativity, I think the number of patents he has and the kind of body of work uh, is enough to say that he is one of the most creative people to walk this earth. And what can we learn from Tesla, right? What can we, like Vijeta was saying, how do we kind of learn from these great people? A couple of points that I noted. Number one is that he was a workaholic, no question about that. And obviously, he was a bachelor throughout his life. He never married. He was a germaphobe. I think he never shook hands. Extremely, solitude focused person, right? So I think creativity and solitude go hand in hand. It's important to be able to think independently, as opposed to always being in the comfort of crowds, right? So I think that's one of the important things that I learned from Nikola Tesla. And of course, the second is when you look at Tesla's whole idea of alternate energy and the free energy, his whole view also changed after I believe he met and read about Swami Vivekananda. And Swami Vivekananda talks to him about the concept of prana, which we have in our Indian philosophy, which is nothing but energy, cosmic energy. And it really gave a lot of breakthroughs. And people can read up online. There's a bit of content there. So very, very interesting to know that about Nikola Tesla, that he was inspired by Swami Vivekananda. I really love that. All right, so let's get the creative juices flowing. I'm going to get to the meat of this, right? So I want to talk about some of the elements of a creative company. So now we're coming to really the core, the body of the whole presentation. Uh, if you have some ideas that come about, always use a notepad. I always have post-its around me, and I use different colors as well. So another important thing about creativity is test multiple and iterate always. You need to be trying a lot of things, right? That's the whole idea of being creative. You need to be able to do multiple things, and hopefully with each attempt you get a lot more sophisticated in your approach. Move to the next idea and repeat, right? One of the important things of being creative is that you should also be destructive in destroying your old ideas, destroying things that did not work, and to be able to swallow the bitter pill and to move forward, right? But you must realize that when you move forward, you're a lot better armed, you're wiser, and you probably are going to do a lot better. So the whole idea of creativity is that it's an extremely spiral kind of process as opposed to a linear process, which is more, you would say, analytical thinking or data or logic based thinking, right? So creativity and logic are quite are quite separate. They're not too related, and it's as different as art and science. So really important in the concept of a creative company to be doing a lot of things and to keep moving forward. I want to give three main sets of principles for the creative company. Right. The number one is, I would say, build an inspired workplace. Right. The whole idea of a company, and very literally, when you take the word company, it is in the presence of other people. Right. That's really what a company is. And unless you have that inspired workspace uh, where you are inspired by the person with you or next to you, I think you're not going to be as creative as you can be, right? You should not be in a industrial era thing where you have a manager or an employee kind of system, because I think it's very difficult for the manager, for example, to be inspired to the next level as well. I think it's very important to have a level playing field where everyone is getting inspired by the other, much like the Beatles, right? So individually, they're not great musicians, but when you put them together, they're an amazing band. So that's one of the beauties of a workspace. It kind of makes the whole more than the sum of the parts. The second is work when you feel like, right? For me, I've really lived this for the past, I'd say, 13 years of my life. I should say ever since 2008, 9. I generally am working hard, but I don't really follow like specifically, office or schedule. I kind of never like that, which is why, of course, I'm doing my own thing and run Vidphone. But really important to work when you feel like, right? Because the creative process is something to do with feeling. It's to do with how you feel. Not really, it doesn't really care about the time on the clock, right? So very very important that you work when you feel like, and hopefully that's a lot of time, right? It should not be 1 hour a day. It's not going to really get you somewhere. So hopefully you do that a lot. The third thing about a creative company and the whole idea of creativity is to celebrate diversity. Unless you have diverse elements in anything, I don't think it can be creative. Right? The moment you have a single thing of anything, it becomes monotonous, which is the opposite of almost, which is routine, which is the opposite of creative. So very very important to celebrate diversity. And I want to kind of take a point here and say, I don't mean diversity in the way that it's made out today, which is to do almost default with race and sex and color. I think today we live in an era where I think knowledge workers, we shouldn't be really worrying about these things. These are not even agenda points for us. What I mean by diversity is the individual experience in the company, right? Uh, and I think this is very important. This was one of the things that made me kind of move into business and entrepreneurship, where I set my own goals along with my team and kind of move. Uh, is what are my own experiences inside the company? What are my functions? What are the different things I'm learning on a day-to-day basis? And the big issue that I found with corporations and companies, and I started my career at Dell when I was 19 years old, uh, and then Aviva when I was 20. One of the things I didn't like was you were immediately certified as good at something, and you had to do that, which meant that you cannot do things that you could fail at, because you don't want to look bad in front of your peers. And that leads to a vicious cycle of stagnation, right? Because no one's wanting to do anything new. So I think that's like very important, which I think I try to incorporate in my work, where I try and do multiple things in a day. And luckily, being a CEO, it helps you because you have a worldview of the business. So I can get into design or technology or product or finance, whatever I want to, and I kind of do diverse work. Uh, of course, you will have men and women, equality, not equality. I don't really discuss these things because it's really meritocracy. I think at the end of the day, who gets the job done should be able to, be in the company, and it's as simple as that. Uh, so celebrate diversity in terms of the kind of work that you are doing, where it's varied, where you're not doing a routine kind of work. I come to second set of ideas. And these I would say are away from the first one. You would say were more superficial. You would see it and people could know, and it's how you feel. But this is really about certain second level characteristics, right? It's very easy for people to think of themselves, and we as human beings, I would say we are probably the most selfish. I mean, I would say all animals are probably equally selfish, but for their life and growth. But Generally we think only of ourselves, and I think that's a big problem today. In fact, Swami Vivekananda says, uh, only they live who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. And I think it's a very, very powerful statement. And to me, running a business has always been about working for my team, working for the people who work with us, our customers, our investors. It's never really only about me, right? And that's a big change that you will see when you're running a creative company, that you cannot have your employees thinking only about themselves and their growth and their salary and their off. Of course, that's what we think about as well, but that's the employee mindset where we kind of change, where it becomes more of an all for one culture, right? So think team first, because always understand that when you're running a company, you are also benefiting of other people's work. So it's very important to be respectful and understand that we are all just cogs in a wheel, right? Hopefully, we won't get replaced too soon, but we could. So very important to think of the whole. That's when I think you can build a creative company or an organization. A solo is very, very different, but organization, you're thinking team first. Reward risk taking. I think again, when you look at it, the moment you come into a traditional job, the main thing is do not screw up. This is the most important thing. I don't want to take a risk. I don't want to try something new, because if I make a mistake, my manager is going to scold me, or my whatever, right? So that's again an issue where risk taking is not rewarded by organization. So it has to be a lot more. Of course, the ability to take bigger bets and how much downside it can cost obviously has to be worked out. But I think overall, from a culture of obeying to a culture of trying, I think there is a big change that needs to happen in companies. And the third point there is something that I really enjoy, which is encourage disagreement. I think that's the whole idea of having different minds thinking on a problem. We think from different angles, and the beauty is that when you run a creative company, you don't think so much about specifically goals only, right? You think more in terms of gaze, and there's a big difference in the way that we kind of approach it. If you look at just a goal, then it's a very objective, kind of way of looking at things. But we believe more in a kind of subjective way, where everybody is right in their own thinking, and I think that's to be appreciated. When you're talking about creative ideas on a table, it should be less about who brought the idea as opposed to what the idea is, right? So encourage disagreement, and that's something that I try and keep as open as possible, even with the people who work with me. I think it's very important that you're listening more to people's ideas, and we are able to work and produce better results together, right? So very, very important here. Encourage disagreement. Don't create a yes man culture. Don't create a like a boss employee culture. Really, let people be able to stand up if their belief is strong. But unfortunately, sometimes it may just come out as an emotion, and very quickly intellectually they will realize that it's not they have not thought it through, right? So really, when you come with an idea as well, you have to think it through quite deep. Go through deep thinking before you come, because understand that others also have gone through deep thinking, right? So you want to make sure everyone's time is respected. So encourage disagreement. Second set. Just want to take a moment. Hope everyone's good. Really nice to have all the viewers. I'm so happy to have Guhan, Divi, a lot of people with us. Thanks a lot for joining in on this Saturday evening. Uh, I'm getting back to the third set. This is the last set now. This, I would say, comes to very, very fundamental. I mean, the first one, people could see it. The second one was more one level inside, where it required some changes. This is, but again, coming down as zen as it gets. Be direct. You cannot be creative, I believe, and be hypocritical or diplomatic too much, or politically correct. You have to be direct, because everyone, when you're being creative, you are an artist. You do what you do, and there is no point being indirect, because people want to spend their mind space on their work, not necessarily deciphering your code. So I think it's very important to be direct, uh, but of course you don't have to be rude. But to me personally, I would say that in an organization like ours, I am okay if somebody is rude to me a little bit. It's fine. Maybe they're hungry, maybe they're pissed with me, maybe they're pissed someone else. It doesn't really matter. Do you bring performance, right? Do you bring high level of performance into this team? Do you really move us forward, or do you take us back, right? Would I work for you? That's like critical to me. So be very direct with the people. Tell them that this is how we're doing things, and you have a lot of coming to the second point. You have a lot of autonomy. uh, Very, very important. Autonomy over authority, right? I've always, we are, who likes the authority, right? Nobody does, unless of course you are the authority. So I always believe in autonomy over authority, I think. But autonomy does not come at the beginning stages. There's a certain level of input that goes in before people gain more autonomy in the organization. And I think once that is crossed, then we expect everybody to act independently, completely with their own, using their own thinking and moving the business forward. There's no real need to discuss too much if they know what they're doing. So, and to empower that, I think is very important in a creative organization. And the reason is that the moment you have authority, there is a sense of fear there. And what fear does is fear automatically reduces your state of creativity. Right? You cannot be afraid and be creative. So very, very simple. You have to be free. You have freedom. So you need autonomy, and that's how you become creative. And of course, the most important, enjoy the work. Right? You have to do what you love. There is no. I will not reinstate this too much, but I think one way to look at this, not everybody is blessed with the ideal so-called work that they would want, right? I understand that. uh, but I think there is nothing really like an ideal work. You'll realize that soon as well. The moment you go to that ideal state, you'll realize there are challenges there, and then you will want something else. So what I've learned is that it's important not to do what you feel like, but to do what is needed, right? And to me, as a CEO and as running this company, and I tell people as well, the guys with us, Akhil and Chandi, everyone, is that it's not always about what we all like to do. It's about what we need to do sometimes. That's when I think you become responsible. So, uh, but while you're responsible, of course, doesn't mean that you need to not be creative in your work, right? You can be producing a lot of very, very creative, original things. So, very, very important to enjoy your work. So I told you that this would get into an actionable set. So I'm just coming to the end of this, probably 5 minutes, I'll wrap up, or probably less than that. Uh, we just want to recap once, because I'm sure I covered quite a few points. I'll just run through very fast. I told you about being a creative company. The first set of principles, we're talking about building an inspired workspace. Most important, you don't want a workspace that drains your energy. You want a workspace and workmates who give you more energy. And always, everyone in the team should think that way. It's as simple as that, right? Second, celebrate diversity again in the kind of work you do, more importantly than the racial profile or the sexual or sex profile, or whatever. Those are, I'm not talking about that diversity. Again, I'm stressing that because the word diversity is just gone off the roof. But diversity, I mean in variety of work that you do independently to be creative and as organizations. Uh, Work when you feel like, very important. You have to be in a good mind state. uh, Ideally it is 15, 16 hours a day, but uh, you really cannot go by the clock. You cannot just always go by the clock. You have to really go by your feel. Sometimes I'm working through the night, sometimes I'm working a couple of days. I mean, sometimes I don't work at all, right? So I sleep quite a bit sometimes. So that's how I work. I balance it out, because and you'll understand why this is important. uh, Routine work is generally takes very short bursts of time. But let me tell you something. I also play music, and I have a lot of friends also. And anybody will know that creative work, let's just say you want to do a painting. Do you think it's a half an hour job? Maybe not. It's going to take a lot of time. And there is something called flow that comes in after some time when you really have to work. So that's really the creative process. So you have to work when you feel like. The second set, team first, always try and think about the other person. This is when we become evolved human beings and evolved corporate human beings, right? We celebrate the team over us, and we try and do what's important so that we are enabling the other person also, right? We don't become a roadblock for them to be able to do their great work. Reward risk taking. Again, I'm not saying reward it at the stage one where people don't know anything about the business and they're not confident and they're not knowledgeable. But people who have started moving ahead in the company, you should be able to give them complete power to take decisions on what they want to do, and with clients, with technology, with teams, with anything. Encourage disagreement. Easier said than done. But if you want to run a creative company, you have to encourage disagreement. And a simple way to solve this in a creative company is, don't think about who is bringing the idea. It's about what the idea is, right? It's as simple as that. The moment you look at it that way, the people politics gets out of the way, and you can really be constructive in the criticism and feedback. The third set, very, very zen here. I really like this because to be creative, you have to be straightforward. You have to be direct. You cannot be creative, by being hypocritical, because you cannot. There won't be any synergy in the company at all. As it is, being creative is fairly chaotic. And if you're not direct, then how does everyone else understand what's going on? So it's as simple as that. Then coming down to autonomy over authority. Again, easier said than done. The new corporate culture, it's already happening today. Let people not have this master slave mindset or a boss employee mindset. Let everyone be peers, and there may be a first among equals in different times and at different departments, but generally empower autonomy. Most important, enjoy the work. So I think very, very important points that I felt for creative companies. Now synthesize the next actions as appropriate for us. So now you can just, a very simple thing to do is to just take out post-it notes or just take some paper, put down how can you act on each of these points. What can you do about your workspace to make it more inspiring? What about the people? It's not only about the workspace. Again, we're all in this WeWork culture where it's more about the look and feel as opposed to who's inside it. I think it's important to understand that the people matter. So if people are having some issues, let them introspect, retrospect. You work together, you discuss it out, find out mutual ways where you can collaborate, intensely. How can you enable a culture of diversity? How can your work profile become more diverse? How can you work when you feel like? How can you start thinking about the team? Who's the person you hate in your team? How can you help him? Right? The first thing you can think about. Just radically change the thinking process. If there's somebody you hate in your team, tomorrow morning you call him up and see how you can help him. Reward risk taking responsibly as much as possible. Start with lower downsides and increase the downsides with success. Encourage disagreement. How can you kind of give people more room to speak, to share their ideas, right? When there are a lot of ideated or idealistic people, definitely there is very heated conversations, right? You can't have mellow conversations about very intense things. So how can you create an atmosphere where no matter how heaty the conversation, your priorities are clear? How can you be more direct? Are you unnecessarily becoming, having some layers of friction? And if you're a CEO, how can you start empowering more of your people? Who of them have proven themselves that they can really handle autonomy more than authority, and start graduating that? How can you make your workspace or your office or your company, more fun? Creativity and fun go hand in hand, right? So these are some very, very important things. Take each of these points, a simple notepad. You may have 9 of them, and that's it. You can also now put this with the teams. Now you have you can put your points in here, and you obviously just take headshots of your team, and you can start assigning who are the people. Who is responsible for making the office workspace better? Who's responsible now for improving the culture of our employees? Who's responsible now for one of the other points, for example? Who's responsible for having better OKRs so that we are able to have better autonomy? Who's responsible to reward those who take risk? Put these in a simple 2x2 matrix. It's as simple as that. You have 4 actions and you're going for it. And just want to end with this quote: the mind is just like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets and the more it can expand. Right? And that's a wrap. That's what I want to talk about. The creative company. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's been a pleasure for me to present this.
Thank you so much, Jagat. That was very interesting. We have been at it for 45 minutes. I have two slides to show, with permission, of course.
Yes.
Okay, so this is very simple, not going to get too dramatic about it, but basically about business culture, doing business, preparing yourself for, to build relationships, trust, and of course doing lots and lots of sales and making lots of money. Okay, so that's all I want to be talking about now. Let me just start it off. And very nice presentation also, Jagat, very beautifully done. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I just want to talk about this, right? Like how do other, look at this from this angle. People from outside of India are also looking at how to do business in India. So we should understand how they're thinking. We should understand how they're framing themselves, how they're preparing themselves, how do they think about us, etc., etc. Right? So I think Jagat, definitely English is a very widely spoken business language. It is one of India's official languages. But if you see a lot of the people who are doing business in India, they're actually getting immersive about our culture. They actually understand about our food. They actually understand about our holidays, about our religion, about our eating habits, how Delhi eats and behaves differently, how South India, Chennai behaves, and culturally it's very different. So these are the kind of things that people are doing. I would very highly recommend to all the founders and startups to do some research work around the official business advisory websites. Okay, all the foreign embassies and consulates maintain this, where they talk about their own culture and they also talk about how they view India. And maybe that would also actually help you to prepare yourself better when you're doing business with them and when you're building partnerships with people who are coming into India. Think about that. Okay, this is the one thing that I want to focus on. Yes, Indian law is important. All of us need to take some time out to look at the Invest India website. Some excellent research report is there. There are some beautiful, information that could be helping the businesses. So I want to talk about this, right? And Jagat, this goes for all of us. That there is so many Indias within India. So many, we speak different languages. Our society behaves differently in different parts of the country, right? And also remember that ultimately North India is different, South India is different, Northeast is different, but that's what makes it such an exciting time to be doing business. So we must be aware of cultural diversity when you're building partnerships and you're building your customer relationship. Do more research work, and this is something that founders must pay a little bit more attention to. Okay, yes, we play a lot of role in the building trust, goodwill, relationships. Take the time out. I mean, definitely this is something that I want to stress, that when supposing we are sitting here in Bangalore, we might be Kannadigas or we're Tamilians or we're from Andhra Pradesh or whatever. But if you want to do some business, say in Kolkata, learn some Bengali. If you have to deal with people in Punjab, understand that culture of Punjab, right? The langar system, how much they revere the Golden Temple. What is their, what keeps them ticking? Because they have their own music, they have their own movies, they have their own style of dressing, etc., right? So maybe you should learn a little bit about that, because that bonding and relationship building also happens because of these things. So I just wanted to give a very crisp, as always, pointer on this. I'm happy to talk more. And this is the way that I'm talking about thinking global. Like sitting in India, you're looking at building your product or services with a lot of people outside of India. And look at the fact that there are a lot of people from outside of India looking to work with local partners, startups, entrepreneurs, and founders and business owners. So maybe the research work here is, what are they thinking? How are they thinking? How can we gel? How can we bond? And how can you all solve great problems, but also make a lot of money? So that's it from my end. Thank you so much once again for this opportunity. And thank you for listening in and joining.
That's fantastic, Vijetha. I think very inspirational. Definitely, everyone should be moving, in the same direction. I think the more, and that's the reason also that we do a lot of these community events all the time, right? To us, it's also
Absolutely.
about getting more and more people together, because there is, I believe a lot in the power of association, and I think that's really important. Many times, companies, startups, founders tend to, I feel, think a lot in isolation, and that one of the reasons we were also at NASCOM 10,000 startups, and a lot of the startups there. One of the good things is that You can always share some ideas, learn from other people, and peer learning. I always believe is very very strong. Right? Uh, I think all the points that you mentioned also um, extremely important at these times, right? Um, I was just trying to pick out one, just on the same lines about culture. As you know, I am a very, very proud Indian. I love my country. Uh, right after NIT, I had multiple, opportunities to get out of India, whether I was doing my, going to the US or going to Dubai. But somehow I just, and now we see that this pandemic as well, it's transformed things completely in the knowledge economy. India has an opportunity now to really become the number one, the knowledge capital of the world in the next 3 to 5 years, very, very easily. And like you said, the Indian and the Western ways of thinking, it again comes down to the corporations, right, which are top down, and you have the overall the pyramid structure, what you can call. You have the CEO on top and a lot of freshers down, and the pyramid. And on the other side, when you look at the Indian systems, we had the best architecture, we had the best metallurgy, we had the best technology right here in India, but we didn't build corporations in the nature of corporations, the way that the European corporation systems came about with shares and company law. Indian systems did not have. India had a different culture. It was, and there is a word. It's not even artha actually. The word is called vritti. There is a word in ancient Hinduism where they talk of this concept called vritti. And then in the later Vedic age, they translate it into why you should make money itself. Why making money is not a bad thing, right? And that's, I think, when you look at a lot of the other systems, they look down upon people who make money. If you need to be spiritual, you need to be poor. You cannot be rich and spiritual. It doesn't go. Or I didn't, a lot of minds in the West, I would say, cannot accept the idea that somebody is very wealthy and very spiritual. Now, that's a Western idea that if you're a monk or you're a nun or you're a, you have to be a, what do you call, a Hindu monk, right? But in India, just think of our gods, for example. If you look at a picture of Vishnu, he's doing advertising for all the Chennai-based jewelry stores. He's got all over him. He's got gold, and Krishna, and most of them. You look at all our devis and everything. So if gods were supposed to, so we have completely different culture. It's completely different. It baffles the mind. So that's the beauty of India. Like you said, multiple states, right? Video chat. So the reason I built video was because 6% of India knows English. 6 to 7% of India knows English, and that's the typing and all that. But isn't business happening, like you said, in Rajasthan or in Punjab, in Punjabi? Isn't business? And I was in Andhra Pradesh, in Hyderabad. The business that goes on in Telugu is only in crores. Like, they don't talk thousands and 10,000s in the Reddis and in Telugu. In Telugu, you're only talking crores. So there's a lot of business happening outside English, and that's the power of India. If you look at our Kirana stores, what language do we talk? We don't talk in English. So how will you account for that language? How will you account for that transaction in e-commerce? You can't. You need live video shopping. You need, and what about the doctor on a patient, right? Neither the doctor will know English nor the patient will know English. Think of a scenario where you're having a rural remote consultation. So India, that is the power now. It's very evident. So that's why also our focus on creative companies. India is the home of creativity. We are the home of creativity. In India, there has always been a culture of innovation, invention, because we are always seekers. But in the West, if you look at the Western education system, it has trained us only to fit a job profile. The whole question of 22 years of education is whether you are worthy enough to get a job. That's all. Not whether you can build something. In India, it was always about building something. You never joined a company. So how the Indian system or occupation worked, of course, I won't get to Varna and everything, but basically it was, if you were a blacksmith, you were a well-known blacksmith in the area. And I would be around your house or in your house, and I would learn the trade from you like an apprentice. And then I would go away and I would start my own thing. So there was this concept of micro entrepreneurship in India that's been there forever. And that's because of the creativity, the kind of things we did, it was not normal in the world. So there was a reason for that. That was because we were a creative culture, because we had a essence of, seeking, of curiosity. We didn't live by a book. We were not said you cannot break the rules. I can believe in one God, I can believe in 100 gods, I can believe in no God. I can still live here. In no other place in the world you can do that. No other place in the world. Which is why we have been a home of creativity, because as I said, you have to be able to accept different viewpoints in being creative. If you say that what I'm saying is right, this is the book, you cannot have creativity because it's law, it's not creative. So that's the whole essence, and I think now we're going to see this new wave of companies. And I'm very excited, just like you. Wonderful. Sandeep's got a lot of notes there.
Yeah. It's good to see all that, Sandeep. Thank you for joining in and letting us know. Great, fantastic.
North India. So a very good point about Bangalore and North India. See, I'm a Bangalorean. I agree. I'm born, brought up here. 19, I go to Allahabad. And in the train, people, there's a joke. People tell me, यार लोग वहां से यहाँ आ रहे हैं, आप यहाँ से वहां जा रहे हैं. So why would a guy from Bangalore leave this beautiful city and 20 to 30 degrees weather, my home here, and go to Allahabad, which I enjoyed a lot. Prayagraj now, no power, 20 hours a day. You have power for 4 hours a day. It's 44 degrees, and it's a beautiful life. You have the Ganga right next to you. North India, I wouldn't generalize like that. There's a lot of enterprising stuff happening in Delhi. There are guys who are doing stuff. Like Vijetha said, every place has its own culture. I cannot run a Delhi-styled food place in Bangalore. It will be difficult because there are so many other competition. You have Lebnex and you have all kinds of stuff. And I may not be able to run a Udupi restaurant in Delhi. So I think, again, in India, very contextual. Malayalis think differently. Kannadigas may think differently. Tamil may think differently. So India is that, you think differently. But if you take typically in the Chinese or the Western mindsets, it's all about logic, rationale. In ours, it's more emotion, feeling. So there's a very contextual. Today I'm okay, tomorrow I'm not okay. So
see, I think we have Sandeep who's from North India. He's from Tai Chandigarh, but he's interacting with so many South Indians. So again, my pointer here is how to make business, how to build relationships, how to thrive. That's all that matters. And and that's all I want to say. That folks, enjoy your weekend. Stay in touch with us. And tomorrow, of course, Jagat, we have the Startup Sunday, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah. So very, very excited. I think we had a wonderful session last week with Priyanka
from Kotak Bank.
Kotak. Thanks to Vipul again, doing some great work with the community, building the Founder Street community as well.
Yeah.
R.V. Reddy, thanks for joining. Deepesh, Anand Ruhela, DV. Is it Deependra Vikram, my friend from college? You can comment, or you can also, I'll also take you live. It's been a while, my friend. Sometime you must join me. Guhan, Sandeep again, wonderful, very, very nice to have you. And thanks again to all the audience. Happy Tesla Day. Get creative, do something, but don't do stuff too much with the electricity, right? So maybe a little dangerous.
Right on.
Thanks, Guhan. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone.
Catch up tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye, community. Take care.
We'll connect once again. Bye-bye.
Have a nice night. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Good night.